Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. Raised fist medium dark skin tone. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. The Nevada sun was a hammer of fire, beating down on the asphalt until the air shimmered in a heat haze. Inside his graphite gray Ford Mustang, Elias Cole let the miles dissolve to the low hum of old soul music. For the past 3 days, he had been just Uncle Eli, a welcome visitor from Detroit, a million miles from the federal task forces that were his life. His secure work phone was off, a silent, dark slab in the center console. A quick glance at the speedometer confirmed it. 63 in a 65 zone. Perfect. That's when a flicker of motion caught his eye in the rearview mirror. A state trooper's car, a black and white blur, closed in the distance with the speed of a predator until it was riding his bumper. Way too close, Elias thought. He tapped his brakes lightly, a polite signal to back off. The cruiser stayed glued to his tail. Seconds later, the mirror exploded in a strobing red and blue. A sudden, arrogant command. Elias signaled and pulled onto Gravel's shoulder, his movements smooth and practiced. He knew this dance by heart. Hands on the wheel. Stay calm. Stay professional. But as two troopers climbed out of their car, a familiar cold knot tightened in his gut. The older one, Haskins, had a face like cracked desert earth and a permanently clenched jaw. The younger one, Rooker, radiated a restless hostility, his hand already hovering near the butt of his pistol. They split up, a classic pincer move, flanking his car on both sides. Haskins tapped the driver's side window with his knuckle. Elias lowered it halfway. Problem, trooper? The older cop ignored the question, his eyes scanning from Elias's face to his hands on the wheel, then made a slow, deliberate sweep of the Mustang's interior. License and registration. Haskins grunted. You were weaving a little back there. No, I wasn't. My hands were at 10 and 2. Elias said, his voice perfectly level. But here are my documents. He retrieved the papers from the glove compartment with slow, measured movements, each one designed to show he was not a threat. Haskins snatched the license, squinting at it. Elias Cole from Detroit. He said the city's name like it was a disease, then held the license a second too long, before giving his partner a nearly invisible nod. I'm going to need you to pop the trunk. Elias's gaze remained fixed on the empty road ahead. Do you have probable cause for a search, trooper? Rooker shifted his weight, his hand now resting firmly on his holstered weapon. What are you hiding in there, city boy? They're fishing for an excuse, Elias realized. Any excuse. I know my rights, he said calmly, and I know precisely what's in my trunk. This doesn't have to get difficult, Haskins said, his voice hardening into a low threat. You can either comply, or we can make the rest of your day very, very difficult. The silence hung in the dry air, thick with unspoken violence. Elias knew the game was rigged. He pressed the trunk release on the dash. A soft electronic pop echoed in the vast emptiness. As Rooker walked toward the rear of the Mustang, Elias braced himself. This wasn't a traffic stop. It was an ambush. A moment later, Rooker reappeared, a clear plastic bag of white powder dangling theatrically from his fingers. Well, he said, a smug grin spreading across his face. Look what we have here. Elias met his eyes in the side mirror. That wasn't in my trunk. You sure about that? Rooker sneered. I'm positive. Haskins leaned down, his face invading the space of the open window, his breath smelling of stale coffee and contempt. You're a long way from Detroit, friend. The rules are different out here. Assistant Director, Federal Bureau of Investigation, clearance. Yankee White, do not detain. Immediate notification protocol Zulu. Corporal Mills went bone white. He looked up from the monitor to the man standing before him, truly seeing him for the first time. His face was a mask of pure, undiluted terror. Sir, my God, sir. We didn't know, he stammered, his hand trembling as it fumbled for the telephone. I have to get my captain on a secure line. Right now. Elias took a single deliberate step toward the desk, The jangle of the steel cuffs on his wrist was no longer a sound of humiliation, but a symbol of their catastrophic, career-ending error. His presence seemed to expand, filling the entire room. "Put the phone down, Corporal." His voice was quiet, yet it cracked through the silent room like a battering ram. "You will do exactly as I instruct. First, you will lock down this building. No one enters or leaves. Second, you will freeze all access to your local network and servers. Third, you will secure the surveillance logs from this desk and every trooper vehicle on duty today. Every single record is now federal evidence." He met the sergeant's terrified gaze, holding it. "As of this moment, Corporal, this entire station is under my direct authority." Less than an hour later, the first black government SUVs rolled up to the precinct. The local station was locked down tight. Troopers Haskins and Rooker were nowhere to be found. They had ghosted, but it didn't matter. The evidence they had so arrogantly planted was already speaking for them. The baggie of white powder, it turned out, was laced with a microscopic federal tracking isotope. It linked the sample directly to a major cartel takedown in Mexico. It was high-value evidence that was supposed to be sealed in an FBI vault hundreds of miles away. They hadn't just framed a random citizen on a lonely highway. They had used the Bureau's own bait to do it. With the full unrestricted power of the FBI to command, Elias Cole ripped open the county's records. It wasn't just a pattern. It was a predatory system. Elias's team tore through years of digital records, uncovering dozens of cases. All of them targeted minority drivers. All of them had body cam footage that was mysteriously corrupted or had simply vanished. And then they found him. Leo Miles, a 22-year-old kid who had died in custody 6 months earlier. The official report was a single-page fiction, a hastily constructed suicide narrative that his family had refused to believe. Elias's investigators found what the troopers had buried, a bystander cell phone video. It showed Haskins and Rooker beating the young man unconscious behind the station. It was cold-blooded murder disguised as procedure. With a murder charge on the table, the informant began to talk. He laid out the whole rotten enterprise. Haskins and Rooker were just the street-level enforcers for a network that stretched across 3 counties. The operation was a ghost protocol known as the Echo Network, designed to make narcotics seized by the state vanish from evidence lockers only to reappear for sale on the streets. The architect was Julian Croft, a disgraced former federal agent who was officially listed as deceased. He was the ghost in the machine. The hunt for Haskins and Rooker ended at a dusty trailer park on the outskirts of Pahrump. When the FBI tactical team breached the door, Elias Cole was right behind them. The moment of recognition on the 2 troopers' faces, the dawning, sickening horror as they realized the man from the Mustang was now the man holding their lives in his hands, was a perfect prelude to justice. They found Julian Croft not hiding in the shadows, but living in plain sight in a glass and steel mansion in Lake Las Vegas. He sat in a digital command center, the glow of 24 monitors reflecting in his eyes. He was the architect of a phantom empire. Croft didn't resist when they came for him. He simply looked up at Elias with an unsettling calm, the supreme arrogance of a man who believed he was untouchable. That arrogance was his final mistake. In a packed federal courtroom, Haskins and Rooker stood pale and trembling. Before the judge handed down their sentence, 2 U.S. Marshals stepped forward. One reached out and ripped the state trooper badges from their uniforms. The sound of tearing fabric was sharp in the silent room. The other unclipped their empty holsters and gun belts, dropping the leather onto the prosecution's table with a final heavy thud. Stripped of their power and their swagger, they looked like what they were, cheap thugs. The judge sentenced them to life in prison for the murder of Leo Miles. With consecutive decades added for their vast corruption, they would die behind bars. The cameras flashed as Julian Croft, the untouchable mastermind, was led away in chains. His digital empire was now a 6 by 9 foot concrete cell as Supermax facility, where he would remain for the rest of his natural life.